Hello, clever people, and welcome to my review for Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. So this film follows the story of Dane DeHaan, whose name is Valerian, and his sidekick, played by Cara Delevingne, and it's about how there's this species that was wrongfully destroyed in a mass genocide, and how they start investigating what happened. And as they investigate it, they're taking down a rabbit hole that takes them to insane places, to crazy worlds, and puts them in situations that they haven't really been in before. I wanted to apologize right now because I am currently sick, so my voice throughout may be inconsistent and I may have to stop every once in a while. But I wanted to get this review out before I head down to San Diego, because I will be seeing Connor down there and we will review Dunkirk, A Ghost Story, and The Emoji Movie. But until then, I wanted to review Valerian. Now, this movie didn't look amazing or anything, but I was kind of excited to see it, because the trailers used the really good song choice of Because, which really did fit with the tone really well, and it looked to be just a visual spectacle. The trailers were absolutely amazing. I saw one of the trailers in 3D before Guardians of the Galaxy, and that just made the image pop, so I decided to see it in 3D. And I can definitely say about this movie is that it is definitely 3D worthy. The images just really popped because the visual effects and the colors and just the pure imagination represented on screen was absolutely stunning. It was just visually insane, just seeing it, especially in 3D. The images, they didn't do the 3D thing where they just have something come out of the screen, and when it comes out, it's like, you know, it's coming off of the screen, it looks like. They had, Luc Besson made it so that each image in 3D sort of felt like it had multiple dimensions to it. That you look to the back and you look to the front, and it looked like it was actually in 3D. It wasn't just shot normally, and then every once in a while they would have something pop out of the screen. The images just popped, and they were visually amazing. However, visuals is where it ends for Valerian. The rest of it is extremely bland and dull, especially the action scenes. That's something that could have been really great. The action scenes could have been absolutely amazing, but they weren't. They were really unexciting, they were unexhilarating. I didn't really care about what was going on, and that's because the story behind all the action scenes was very weak. The film overall had a very bland story that was fine, but sort of didn't really make an emotional impact, and didn't get me invested, and it wasn't entertaining in any way. It was sort of just there to be visually stunning. When you look at it, you're like, wow, that looks amazing. But the rest of the aspects of the movies are really bad. Visuals will only take you so far, and Valerian doesn't realize this. They spend about 6 years on the visuals and probably like 10 minutes on everything else, because the chemistry between Dane DeHaan and Cara Delevingne is practically non-existent. The acting there was absolutely awful. And there's one scene in particular where Cara Delevingne is trying to convince Valerian to do something towards the end, and the acting was so awful that I was waiting for them to make a joke about it. A joke about how serious it was getting, and they never really did. It was like they were trying to actually be dramatic when the film really hadn't built up to that. And the pace in this film is absolutely awful. So many scenes go on way longer than they should. They just keep on going on and on and on, and at a point it sort of gets tiring and you don't really feel like it needs to continuously go on and be relentless like this. Particularly the opening scene that's about 20 minutes long when it should have been 5 minutes. It was just an introductory to these characters, and it was an extremely long mission where they were just doing all these crazy things, and I didn't need it to go on for that long. And there are a lot of other scenes that feel like that. The film messes up so much in so many aspects that it starts to become uninteresting, and frankly, I was bored during Valerian. That's not something you should say about this type of movie, because it's supposed to, at the very least, have guilty pleasure entertainment to it. And it didn't even have that. What I was hoping is that this film would be some of the most fun that I've had in theaters in a long time, but unfortunately, the bland story and the lazy action just really detracted from that. And there was also a very noticeable lack of tone, or at least a lack of consistent tone, because one of the most important things in a movie is having identity, knowing if you're a fun action movie, or if you're a heavy drama. And unfortunately, Valerian struggles with this. There are too many scenes that are trying to be super entertaining and fun, and then like that, it'll switch over to something dramatic and sad. And the tone just really messed with that, and because of its lack of identity, there wasn't a lot that was too memorable about this movie. I will remember the 3D and the visual effects, but there are just so many things that are just disposable and just not really that great. And also the score in this movie, score is another big part of tone, was very awful because they just sort of used stock music. It wasn't anything creative or new, similar to everything else in this movie. Now, Valerian definitely could become a cult classic. It has that type of feel to it, where the visuals are so amazing and it's so imaginative and creative with not with the story, but with everything else, the character designs and all, that it wouldn't surprise me if it becomes a cult classic. However, it just really isn't enjoyable in any way, and it doesn't really have broad appeal. It will appeal to a certain group of people, and those people will enjoy it and they will love it. But honestly, it should have been entertaining, and it wasn't. And if it wasn't going for that, it should have at least been a guilty pleasure, or the action scenes should have at the very least been exhilarating. And it never became anything like that. In the end, it was just sort of a dull, bland experience that honestly I never want to really go through again. I will give Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets a 3.5 out of 10. Well, anyway, that concludes my review for Valerian. What are your thoughts on this film or the graphic novel? Comment in the comment section below and let me know. I'm Robert Burke, and this has been The Clever Critics. Goodbye.